Welcome to WNL Sports Weekly. I'm Jeremy Franklin. For our final show of the calendar year, we welcome back to the program Washington and Lee's Director of Athletics, Jan Hathorn. Jan, thanks for being here. Glad to have you again.
Thank you.
The fall season for Washington and Lee featured a record 14th ODAC title for volleyball, 17 wins for the women's soccer team, another cross-country runner, Annalise Madison, qualified for nationals, and 4 ODAC Rookies of the Year, Marshall Hollerith from football, Nolani Schulmeyer from field hockey, Max Strahler from men's cross-country, and Ashley Hogan from the women's soccer team. What do all of those accomplishments tell you about both the present and the future of Washington and Lee's fall teams?
Well, first of all, it was a fantastic fall in a lot of ways, and those recognitions and awards and honors highlight the future. And I think, quite honestly, as much as it would have been nice to possibly win some more conference championships, we did a lot of good work with rebuilding some programs and with the WNL spirit and the student athletes in general was just really running high. And it was a good indication of the strengths of the coaching of our student athletes, the student athletes themselves, and then just the combination of those two things and the excitement and passion and enthusiasm the students have for the sports they play. So everything's really, I thought, looking really good for the future.
Both cross-country teams had great seasons. For new head coaches, Brandon Spalding for the men, Kristen Capito on the women's side, how exciting was it to see the way those teams performed?
Oh, it was really exciting. First of all, those are two of our most successful programs over the years, and so for them to continue that kind of success and excellence was in some ways a relief, in the sense that for the student athletes themselves, it's sometimes really hard to have a brand new coach, and to see both of those programs continue to do well and to excel this fall was, I think, testimony to the great student athletes we have, the great coaching that Kristen and Brandon provided, and also just a testimony to the drive and the will of our students when they actually are put in front of their competition and are asked to perform. They're just going to step up and do it. So altogether, it's a great package, and it looks really good, again, for the future.
There's one bittersweet note from the fall. Rolf Peranian is retiring after 38 years as the head coach of the men's soccer team. 313 wins, 7 ODAC Coach of the Year awards, 3 conference titles. But beyond the accomplishments on the field, what has Rolf meant to men's soccer at Washington and Lee and to the athletics program as a whole?
Rolf has meant a great deal. It's a little hard to put into words all the things that Rolf has meant to men's soccer in particular, but to Washington and Lee athletics overall. Words like passionate, devoted, just hardworking, work ethic. He's the kind of coach that is, I think, a throwback to our the coaches of the past who really just, and I think all our coaches on our staff coach because they love it, and Rolf is just one of those people, though, that epitomizes it in everything that he does. He very proudly calls himself a company man, and I would completely agree with that. He loves Washington and Lee. He bleeds blue and white. His devotion to men's soccer, to the world of soccer, to the student athletes on the team, to Washington and Lee as a whole, because he's an alum as well as a coach. He's lived it every day. He's always been that way, as far as, I don't think, even as he's gotten older and gotten to this point where he decided that it was time to step away, he put all of his energy into what he was doing and gave his all and always sought excellence. So that's a hard thing to replace, and you don't really replace Rolf. What you do is you start with something new and different. And the wonderful thing is the program's not broken, or there's nothing about the program that needs anything but just a new head coach and just to go in a new direction because there's a new head coach. So I really can't say enough about Rolf. He means a lot to all of us. He has represented some of the finest things that are Washington and Lee athletics when it comes to the things that he's done over his years and the traditions that we have when it comes to our excellence and our success.
The on-field achievements for our student athletes are always worth discussing, but I think even more so is what they do in the classroom. The latest is that both soccer teams received the Team Academic Award from the Coaches Association. Are you continually impressed by what our students do on the academic side?
Oh, absolutely. They're really sometimes, when I speak to outside audiences, it's hard sometimes to not sound like this is what I'm supposed to say, because we just do, these student athletes just do exactly in the classroom what you would hope. Now there are times where, because of their ability to excel in the classroom, you wish they could put it aside a little bit, just a little bit more, only because how that transfers into what they're doing on the court, field, pool, wherever it is they're competing, sometimes is a lot for them to manage. But that's the piece that's, I think, even more impressive, is how they do manage excelling in the classroom in the way that they do, and then excel on the field or court. And what comes to mind is that volleyball championship team. They were outstanding on the volleyball court, and they are outstanding in the classroom. And we sort of come to expect that of the volleyball program and many of our programs. It's not surprising to me that we have those kinds of awards come in on a regular basis. And I wonder sometimes, if we weren't to meet them, what we would do, because it's really sort of feels sort of automatic, and I don't want to jinx anything by saying that, yet this is the stellar student athlete that we work with that just is, it's incredibly impressive.
I think that youth might be the defining word for some of our winter teams, especially women's basketball, men's swimming, and wrestling. What's the coaching dynamic like when you have a roster that has few or maybe even no seniors?
Well, the coaching dynamic is one of a whole lot of extra harder work. I should probably take that back. It's a different kind of work. I think all our coaches work really hard, and I think all our student athletes work really hard. Yet when you are sort of rebuilding and readjusting to what you've lost and what you've added, it's a whole different type of work than it has been when you have a core group of students that are carrying your program for a few years. So again, the volleyball team would be an example of a group of students, athletes, who have carried that program the last 2 or 3 years, and now our winter coaches are doing exactly what you said. They are readjusting, they're finding their rhythms with these young athletes, and the future's really bright again. It's sort of the theme of what we're talking about, but it's so apt because we have really talented young men and women in those programs that I think it's going to be interesting to see how well they do over the next few years, because I think they're going to get great exposure, great experience, opportunity to play in these early years, and sort of set the stage for what's to come.
Back in October, the Board of Trustees unanimously approved the site for the new natatorium. What's the latest on facilities upgrades for Washington Indley Athletics?
So the pool siting is the beginning of the whole project in a lot of ways. Once we get the pool built, we will begin with the interior of the Warner Doremus centers and gymnasiums and start those projects. So it's very exciting that we are going to get a brand new pool. Where it's going to be located is out near the law school and the north side of campus near the football stadium. Once we get that built and we begin actually competing and using that building, then the next stages of renovating the Warner Center is going to begin. And so this siting of the natatorium pretty much represents the catalyst for the entire project, and we are now on the very first sort of layer of that whole exciting adventure of what we're going to have in probably 5 to 7 years when it comes to the entire facility that is the indoor facility. So it's an exciting time. We're just beginning the design phase of the natatorium, and the fundraising phases for the natatorium and Doremus Warner renovations and upgrades are really taking serious root in the development office. They have been fundraising all along, but now that we have some things to show people and this real direction that we're going has been decided, we're in the process of getting the money raised so that we can actually stick some shovels in the ground and get things going. I can't wait to see in the end. It's going to be neat to see on the far when things are completed, and it's a little hard to look far ahead into the future, yet at the same time I think it's just going to be a stellar addition and upgrade to what we do on our courts and in our pool and in the wrestling gym and so on and so forth. Those student athletes are going to have, and the coaches are going to have even more at their disposal to help them do all those excellent things they do all the time. So it's a great time. It's a really great time.
We'll finish with a loaded question. What are your expectations for the rest of the school year?
Well, as they were for the fall, is to continue and to maintain the tradition of excellence that we've had for our student athletes in the classroom, and the sports that they love and that they play and that they compete in, to give our coaches and our training staff, our sports information office, all the people that support us, every opportunity to provide excellent facilities, equipment, everything we need so that the students can have the experience that we tell them they're going to have when they come to Washington and Lee. And I think our winter sports have a really good foundation under them. They've gotten off to a pretty good start. Again, those teams are rebuilding because they're young, and the spring tends to be that crowning achievement of how we finish out our school year. We often have a lot of success in the spring, and I anticipate that we will again this year. And so I'm looking forward to the winter season and getting into the meat of that and seeing how we do, and then transitioning into the spring. There's no question in my mind the student athletes are choosing, wanting, dreaming of excelling and doing well and chasing conference championships and possibly national collegiate competition, and they're going to go for it, and I'm excited to see them go for it. And I think I really think we'll do well. I'm looking forward to watching them do it.
Jan, always great to speak with you. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
For WNL Sports Weekly, I'm Jeremy Franklin. Have a safe and joyous holiday season, and we'll see you in 2014.